right, Chris. Quick, completely unscripted question before we start the show. When was the last time you actually clicked a website after Googling something?
Honestly, also unscripted. I read the answer at the top and close the tab.
I am so glad you said that because if you hadn't, this would go sideways. That's everybody right now. So picture this. Somebody's getting really serious about pickleball. I don't know if you've ever played or heard of the sport. They're done with the garage sale paddle. They're ready to spend real money. They Google best paddle for intermediate players. And before they see one single website, Google's AI answers them. It names 3 brands. It cites a Reddit thread, maybe a YouTube review.
And if you're saying Dinky, which is my brand, that makes exactly that paddle to fit the sentence.
You're not in the answer. You might be right there in the results underneath it. I know this stings a little. You did the SEO work, maybe you rank, but the AI answered first and it answered with your competitors.
So the customers then buy somebody else's paddle, and Dinky never even knows that there was a customer looking for us. There's no analytics for the person who never showed up.
Yeah. So that's kind of the whole episode today. And it's not just about your site, it's about where you're being talked about. Ranking for traditional SEO, as we all know now, got you found for 20 years, but it doesn't get you recommended necessarily anymore.
Yeah. So who does the AI recommend and why them?
So that's exactly where we're going. This is the Shift AI show presented by Aweber. All right. You like tried to loop back there or something. No, but that was what we're talking about again today. We realized like we've covered kind of showing up in AI search and a few practical tips on one episode. I want to say it was like episode 15. So there's some entry for you now on episode 30. We're revisiting the topic because I think it's it's wildly important. Not I think. It is wildly important for a business in 2026 to be able to begin to show up in the right conversations in terms of AI search, whether that's on Google or ChatGPT or wherever people are searching and asking these questions, right? How have you experienced? I mean, we're using your business as an example today. Have you put time and thought in this? And when I say business, it's a side project. I recognize.
Yeah, I make pickleball paddles as a side project with my wife. It's a lot of fun. And honestly, I have spent 0 time thinking about, even though I think we used Dinky in episode 15, I have done no work to try and improve my generative search rankings. I'm actually really interested to hear, like, from your point of view, how has the way you think about generative engine optimization or whatever they call it, how has that changed between then and now?
Yeah. And I think we talked about it then too. And it's interesting because it's like everything's constantly shifting and changing. And it's like, okay, so where do I put my focus? The focus of episode 15 was primarily on your owned properties, like your website and the things that you can control in terms of what content there is. But we know a huge piece of showing up in AI search is third-party validation. So whether that's building like a feedback loop where you gather reviews from happy customers on Google so that the LLMs and Google see that as a validation measure, or it's showing up in conversations in things like Reddit, or it's as we've seen, and who knows how long this will hold true for, but right now YouTube is outranking Reddit as a primary citation source in AI search results. So once again, YouTube becomes super important. So it's constantly shifting and worth saying on top of. But what we're going to do today is really using this mega prompt. We're going to have it analyze a business, Dinky again, and identify gaps for specific search terms between Dinky and competitors, and then give us like a ranked list of things to tackle. And we'll implement the top ranked one today. It's going to be something that's owned because we have immediate control over that, but it's going to show us a bunch of things that we can do. So let's do it. Let's jump in. Yeah. All right. So like I said, there we are again. There's Chris. rocking the pickleball court. So this is Dinky, and this is a real business. I wanted to use, I know, like, I feel like I keep coming back to Dinky, but I really wanted to use a real business and not this like hypothetical. I know we've built kind of example businesses using AI tools before, but I wanted to make sure that we're using something that's actually out there in the wild and that really has the potential of showing up in these sources. So I'm going to use Google today for the sake of this demo to keep it a little bit simple. If you're in the mega prompt doc that Chris just linked in the chat, you'll see in the prompt that it even references like having used multiple search engines. So like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Google AI mode. And I recommend, like, if you're doing this, I would do like 5 search terms in 3 platforms. Like, make it extensive. But for the sake of the demo, we're doing 1 search term in 1 platform just to show the process. But, you know, get as thick in the weeds with this as you want to really try to make sure that you're optimizing your content and taking the right steps outside of your content to make sure that you really begin to show up and get those citations. All right, so we're going to go to Google. We're going to search, and I'll click AI mode. Now, I could also do this outside of AI mode and traditional. I'm still going to get that AI summary. Actually, let me show that real quick. If I go to all, like, we get sponsored results, right? Those are paid for in order to be there. I don't know about you guys. I immediately become a little skeptical because it's not, you know, there's no validation other than the fact that they put budget behind showing up there. But now we all get these AI overviews. So this is what we're talking about. Like, most consumers are now, I want to say the last stat that I saw was like 70% are getting the answer here without ever clicking a blue link.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to the pages. They get the information they need and they're out. And you don't know that.
And this is actually a pretty scary thing for like internet publishers. There's the editor of The Verge, his name, I believe, is Nilay Patel. He coined this term called Google Zero, which is a world in which Google sends no traffic to any other pages because everything happens in this chat stream. So like this thing is becoming more and more important as we get closer and closer to Google Zero.
Well, and it's not hypothetical because those publishers are watching their analytics and Google as a source. They're seeing it tailing down, you know, the wrong direction.
Yep.
So it's happening. And I know, you know, anecdotally as a consumer, I rarely click through anymore. If I just need some information, need to understand something, that's that.
Yeah.
It's problematic when we think about people who are like in like a food blogging space where most of their business comes from ad impressions and ad clicks on their site. Most of their revenue, I should say, sorry. If they're never getting people through to that site, man, that's rough. So it's super important to at least be showing up as a citation, as a reference in these AI searches, so you still have an opportunity to potentially grab traffic and business from those searches. Okay, so I got this search result. I'm literally going to take this, and I have that mega prompt that's in the document. And as you'll see, if you have that open, it's pretty extensive, but there's a handful of placeholders. Okay, so I've actually already gone and filled in the placeholders here, but I have the entire prompt here. It's the same thing that's in that document, but if you look, I've added Dinky as the business name. They sell pickleball paddles. Their homepage is dinky.com. And then the audit, it still says I asked everybody. I asked Google, what's the best beginner pickleball paddle, right? And then I actually paste in verbatim just this. Like I literally just took this entire AI search result right here, highlight, copy, and paste it right into that prompt here. Right here. And I marked it as Dinky was invisible in these answers because it was not referenced, linked to, or mentioned in any of the sources that it used to create the answer. Okay, so pretty simple cut and paste, like copy paste, putting this stuff into the prompt where the placeholders exist, and then you have your mega prompts. Now you can take this to whatever LLM you prefer. I am going to go and use Claude. So in a new chat here, I'm going to give it to it. And this prompt is basically telling it that it's a AI search visibility analyst. Tells us its role, its job, tells you about the business, gives the homepage so that it can learn about the business and understand the copy and content and how the business is positioning itself. And then asks it to do an audit. So it's going to diagnose this business's homepage against the sources that were used in that AI search result. And again, just from copying and pasting that result in, it's going to rank, it's going to come up with proposed fixes to close those gaps between Dinky and the businesses that were referenced. It's going to give a ranked list of those fixes. So it's going to prioritize them so that I understand where to start. And it's not just this sea of to-dos. And then it's actually going to scope out the first fix for us so that we can actually implement one. And that's it. We kick it off. I don't do a lot of pre-baking as we talk about on this show. But rather than having everybody sit and watch this, I did run the exact same prompt earlier. And I'm going to jump right over and show y'all what it came up with. I'm not going to read the entire thing because it's pretty verbose. But diagnosis, the short version. An AI engine reading Dinky.com learns almost, and Chris, apologies. It's not using its kid gloves. There's almost nothing it could repeat in an answer, and no one else on the internet is talking about Dinky to fill the gap. Okay, no one seems a bit strong. I've talked about it on the internet, so
it's fair. It's fair.
And compare what the AI engine cited against what's on Dinky's homepage. The AI answer is built from specs. Dinky's page is built from vibes. So it gets into the specifics about how the answer that AI came up with spoke to like the weight of the paddle, I'm going to mess this up, the surface, the material used, things like that. It says the ingredients are there, but never assembled. So you have bits of that information on your site, but it's not presented in a way that it's going to be immediately visible and accessible to those AI and to the engine that's putting together the AI result in a way that it wants to use it because it's surfaceable. The FAQ actively dodges the questions AI asks. Will your paddles make me play like a pro? Designed to help you play better, feel more confident, and look great. And third-party footprint, and we talked about this earlier. This is like where the real work, like the real hours are spent, honestly, because it's a slow build. It's a long tail effort. It's not an overnight change, but it is insanely necessary and valuable. And that's tough when you're a small business owner. You may not have a team or a very large team. And that's why I think it's important to start with what you can control, like the content on your site. Taking part yourself in like Reddit threads and things like that, creating YouTube content.
Yeah. And it is funny though, because I don't know this to be true, but I have a gut feeling just from the things that appear in search that the stuff that you do on your website, although not unimportant, is nowhere near as important as getting cited by other people, So like I ran a version of your prompt as well, and I got some of the interesting things that I got back or the biggest interesting thing that you also got back is like specs are really important, and the places that talk about specs are these third-party review sites. So it gave me a list of reviewers that I should just send paddles to get reviews done.
I have that in here, and I love that. I used to work. I ran a creative team at a PR agency. And we had a department within the agency that did consumer products. And I'll tell you what, like every time I would walk in their area of the office, there would just be these boxes piled to the ceiling of the client's product that were getting ready to be shipped to influencers so that they could get it, try it, talk about it. Here's your free gift. Enjoy. Hopefully you share about it, So I loved seeing that. It felt close to home. How do you get third-party people to talk about your paddles? Give them your paddle.
And Neil in chat just said, so this goes back to Google 20 years ago, backlinks are everything. I think that is true. Like not the only thing, I wouldn't say everything, but they're most things. And like,
but it's still, I like the way it actually summarized it here. It says AI engines are like a journalist writing a roundup on a deadline. They quote sources that state facts plainly and that other people have already vouched
Yes.
for. Dinky said the journalist, nothing quotable and nobody else has
Yeah.
vouched. So yeah, like backlinks are like people vouching
Yeah.
for it,
Because
right?
like if you could just get to the top of search rankings in traditional search or in AI searches by stuffing words onto your page, everyone would do it, and thered be a traffic
Oh yeah,
jam. So it really
yeah.
is about trust because the agents want to understand what is real, and like third party validation of what you're saying is much more important than first party promotion of yourself, you know?
Yeah. And I just want to call out real quick so it's not missed. But Dana Fisher said, would love a webinar on how to create YouTube content that will help you show up in AI recommendations. I absolutely love that. I think that should be an upcoming
Yeah.
topic. So
One of our team members is actually working on that. We both work at Aweber, and he's working
Mhm.
on content for that right now. So I think it'd be awesome to have him come on, talk about what he's doing, what he's learned from his experiments, what he's doing now as a result, and how other people can replicate it. That's a great call.
Mhm. Mhm. And Joyous Childbirth said, how do you find these review sites? I would do what we're doing here in the demo because in Chris's example here, it actually said, where's my, and now I'm fine. I'm losing it. Oh,
Oh,
send paddles to 2 to 3 review YouTubers, bloggers, the kitchen, pickleheads style roundups. And it starts, you can ask it to give you like, who should I be sending this to? Who are people in my space that I need talking about me? And it'll help you, it'll get that list.
in my version, it recommended individual people doing paddle reviews and a couple people who have these big spreadsheets. They're like, you need to get listed on these spreadsheets. That's how detailed
Mm,
it was, just by I think because of the prompt that Jesse shared. Like
mhm.
it has a lot of guidance to actually help me figure out what to do actionably, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and I think that's a great follow up. If you don't get it as specifically as Chris did, say, hey, for ranked number 2, get into third party sources AI engines actually cite. Give me a list, a prioritized list of who I should start with, and let it do that research for you. Um, I just want to say too, in that prompt, and I think it's an important lesson. Like, I think it's at the end of the prompt. It tells it not to make anything up. Like, if you don't know
Hmm.
something about the paddle, don't fabricate it. If you don't know something
Yeah.
about like the space, don't make it up. And it's going to help keep it honest. You've talked about it before. These LLMs are much better at not hallucinating than they were even 6 months ago. But I still always like to include that in a prompt, especially when it comes to something like this, where I don't want to be writing stuff, have it write stuff on the website that's not accurate. Uh, Maybe that's 1A. 1B is always check its work anyway. Like you still need to bring a human touch to it.
Yeah.
And 2, like you don't want to be building like outreach lists or things like that for influencers that aren't accurate or don't exist. So
Yeah.
yeah, Neil, Trustpilot, it's great. It's a great indicator and signal. Any of those third-party review sites are a great way to build some third-party authority.
Yeah.
So
And
it ranked. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
well, and Neil also asked a question about competitors linking to each other, and I assume that's through comparison pages of like my product
Mm,
versus other person's product, potentially. Like, um, so we don't know how these search algorithms work at a deep level, but what has been tested and what many people are, and is also just like kind of something to intuit, is that like Google and now ChatGPT and Anthropic, like they spend a lot of time on the algorithms and the tools for recommendation, and the things that, if something seems like so obvious that like, oh, I should be able to game it this way, you probably can't game it that way.
yeah,
um,
they're
which
about
is
50 steps
why
ahead.
like the hard things that are really hard and expensive to game, like organic conversation on Reddit, where upvotes are a thing, or and karma is a thing, or um, walled garden review sites like Trustpilot or
Mhm.
G2 Crowd or those things. It's probably a much better idea for you to focus on developing relationships, sending customers to leave reviews on those sites, happy customers to leave reviews on those sites, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it prioritized 5 fixes. Rewrite the homepage and product pages around extractable facts. And we'll have
Cool.
it do that for us. Get into third-party sources AI and is actually sites. So that's like where it talked about sending the paddles to
Yeah.
creators and content, reviewers. Publish this is one you can own. Publish a best beginner pickleball paddles under $100 style comparison page on dinky.com. Now, listen, that sounds like a bit of an old SEO tactic. And like you just said, the LLMs, Google, whatever platform you're using, they're smart enough to know, like, all right, well, you made this, like, how much do we value that? But they're still seeing those things referenced as sources. So, be honest in it, and it calls that out here. Don't use it as a marketing tactic. Be direct and honest in it. But it's gonna give it a better chance of becoming a source, and it's one that you can control. Fix metadata and product schema. So structured data, machine readable labels for price, material, ratings that Shopify apps can add. That's important. And then I love this one, and it goes to what some of the chat's about too. Build a review base. Like in Chris's example, turn on product reviews on the Shopify store and email past customers for reviews. So, leverage your existing customer base and your ongoing customer base. And that's what we talked about at the top, like building kind of like a feedback loop where, when somebody purchases a product, books a service, completes a service, completes a course, whatever it is that you might provide, they automatically get an email encouraging them to leave a review on whichever platform you choose. Maybe that's Google reviews, maybe it's Trustpilot, maybe it's G2, maybe it's who knows what it is.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece. So I had a previous version too that also talked a lot about just kind of engaging transparently as the owner in Reddit threads around pickleball and things like that. Just not advertising, not promoting, but just becoming a presence in those spaces. Because again, it's gonna pick up on Dinky and go, okay, maybe there's some value here. Are people talking about it? Is there?
I got like one recommendation that I didn't see in here, which was like to focus on queries that I could actually win, because there's like no way I'm going to get a best performance paddle. Probably not even a high likelihood that I'll be able to rank well in best beginner pickleball paddles. So like, what is a unique aspect of my product that I actually focused on in the design of the product that speaks to a specific use case and is not a generic use case? So the one that it recommended based on the information about my paddles is it has like a longer handle because it's designed for people who want to do a double hand backhand. And it suggested things like best paddle for two-handed backhand comparison pages, or best pickleball paddle for tennis players switching over to pickleball, stuff like that. It called them high intent, low competition terms that I've already made a product for. So it's not like I have to force fit it into it. It's already made for those people.
Right. Well, and frankly, that's the measure that you want to be measuring against, right? Because you said it, high intent. Like, you don't want to be cited in mildly unrelated search terms, because you're not going to be the answer that they want. You want to be focused on the ones and measuring your content against the ones that matter. And it's kind of, that's kind of a SEO 1.0 tactic, right? Like there's we may not call them keywords so much anymore, but those search terms, because people are searching like full questions now versus business near me. That's, like whatever the fragmented search terms that we used to use. But the concept is the same. Like, you want something with enough volume that it's going to matter, right? People are actually searching this question. The intent, in other words, where they tend to click to and go to seems to match what you're offering. That indicates to you that they are the right audience. But where the competition is not like a 98, that's a hard win. But if you can find some where there's a decent amount of volume with the right intent, and it's like a 56 competition, and that's where I think, look, there's a SEMrush, Moz, Ahrefs, like there are several platforms that you can use to do that keyword or search term research and identify, hey, this month, these are the 5 terms that I want to analyze using this prompt, and begin to implement some of the tactics to help close that gap. And listen, like, disclaimer too, like, AI can speed up the tactics here. You know, it's ready in this prompt. It's already scoped fix number one, which was rewriting the homepage and product pages. It's ready to rewrite one of the product pages. It has a few questions for us first. So it can speed up that stuff. It can write the structured data that's missing. It can do all of those things. It's gonna take time to begin to show
Yeah.
up and really see the benefit of that. Like all SEO, AEO, whatever. Unfortunately, that's outside of our control, your control, right? But making sure that you're doing the things that you should be on your owned properties, get your house in order, because you can control that quickly, and then beginning to maybe time box every day and say, hey, for a half hour every day, I'm going to go into Reddit, or I'm going to work on some YouTube content, or I'm going to begin to do some of these tactics that I know will bit by bit and over time snowball and lead to better AI search results. I know nobody ever wants to hear that, right? Like, the fix takes time. Like, the results are not immediate. But that's the reality of it. Cool. Any other questions on this, or anything that we missed?
Joyous Childbirth asked, is there any site where you could answer people's questions as an expert authority? A couple that come to mind to me, some of them are probably more helpful for search than others, but Reddit is a big one. Like, Reddit is a huge one. People are actively engaging in conversation. I did just see that Reddit is thinking of backing out of their deal, or restructuring their deal with Google that Google had been using to power Gemini, or to influence Gemini search. But still, it's a good place to be. Another thing I would recommend, well, this is a little bit iffier because I'm not sure how these are being used, but LinkedIn also has expert communities where you can contribute answers to people's questions. You can build these collaborative articles as well, or contribute to collaborative articles.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I'd suggest that you do is, like, look for communities, niche communities that may have their own open forums. Or honestly, like, part of this is for AI search. Those are the things that you want to look for, like these big places where you can go talk. But there's a real benefit that isn't related to AI search to joining communities that that are related to your industry, that are closed communities, like a Facebook group, or I'm in a marketing group called Exit 5. That just has a bunch of marketers in it, where I learn a lot, and I can also talk about the things I'm an expert in. And when I talk about the things I'm an expert in, oftentimes I'm able to, like, tacitly recommend Aweber, the tool that I work on, as part of my answer.
Well, not for nothing. You're looking at Dinky, and I know you've demoed some stuff like a round robin app generator for people to figure out playing, and you make paddles. Your presence in that community is a natural advertisement for your products.
For sure.
It's no different in those online digital communities either. I would also just add, like, there's some very fluctuation in terms of what kinds of sources are going to be used, but like media publications with mentions, and it's hard to always guarantee that you get a backlink. Backlinks help, but just those mentions too. Like, if you can be a source for a story and they mention you and your business, that can be great third-party validation. There are things you can be proactive and go get a media relations expert that's going to be pitching you, or you can be reactive and passive with it too. There are newsletters like Harrow's, Help a Reporter Out, where you just receive a daily or weekly summary of sources that reporters are looking for. I'm looking for a personal coach who works with new executives for a story. And you click, you reach out, and you say, hey, that's me. I do that. Would love to be a source for your story. So there's some passive ways that you can kind of begin to build that too. Now, these things are not overnight fixes, but they're critically important over time. And it's what's that? I'm going to butcher the quote. The best time to start is...
the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Yeah. is now. Yeah, thank you. That's why I have you. Yeah. So sorry, just trying to make sure if I have Michael said, if I have a course catalog, not a physical product, does this still work?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think everything we talked about here is pretty applicable to any kind of product, service, or otherwise, like not specific to physical products or e-commerce businesses at all.
Yeah.
Laura asks, does it help if you're on podcasts with links to your website? Absolutely. Now, the bigger, more reputable that podcast and traffic from their own site with that backlink, like obviously the better. They're not all going to be created equally, but absolutely that can help. Yeah, awesome. So last thing before we get out of here, no mailbag today. But Chris actually put me onto like an interesting thought here, and I don't know how we want to go about gathering this, Chris. You can drop it in the chat right here. You can go to aweber.com/shift and submit a mailbag question with your answer. Is Tuesday and Thursday, or what's today? Friday. It's not Thursday. Is Tuesday and Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern time like the best time for you to be being able to come be part of this live? Chris said something earlier that kind of opened my eyes to like, we haven't asked that question and been, we always like encourage, hey, if you need an answer from your audience, ask for feedback.
Yeah.
And we haven't done that. We set these times fairly arbitrarily. We would love to hear in terms of the time and scheduling, if there's something that we could be doing differently. So please, like, throw it in the chat if you have a preference. I definitely see in the numbers like Fridays are better for people, and in my own life couldn't agree more. But yeah, is there something that we could be doing differently there? We would love to get your feedback on that. Awesome. Chris, anything you want to add before we get out of here today?
No, I never do.
Well, I'm going to start scripting the outro now too.
I do love our outros. It's always like, well, we'll see you later.
The intro's so clearly scripted and prepared, and then the outro's like, nah. I love it. It's all good. But we will be, as of right now, we will still be back next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. We will not change anything yet, and we will communicate clearly with everybody if we decide to. But we appreciate everybody being here. It was a super engaged, chatty episode, and I love that. That's always more fun for us, and I hope valuable for everybody here too. So thank you all so much for being here. We'll see you next week, Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. Take care, y'all.